Amara's hands released the railing. The city lights blurred into streaks. For 3 seconds, she felt weightless, free. Then gravity remembered her, and the concrete rushed up like judgment. Min Jae saw the white coat falling through his penthouse window mid-sentence, discussing territory splits with his lieutenants. His glass shattered in his fist. Blood. The sound of impact 25 floors below, a sound he knew too well. Hana. 5 years ago. Same trajectory, same helplessness. Not again. Move now. His underground doctors arrived before the sirens. Dr. Amara Williams, cardiac surgeon, 34. Suicide note clutched in her pocket about impossible debt. Shattered legs, internal bleeding, fractured spine, 15% survival chance. Her mother Grace on life support, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, $847,000 owed to Marcus Chen. Min Jae's decision came cold and absolute. She doesn't get to die, not like this. He turned to his lieutenant. I want her alive, and I want everything on Marcus Chen. If you're not subscribed, you're gambling. Next week, I'm dropping a new story. Subscribers get first access. Non-subscribers, you'll see everyone talking about it and have no idea what happened. Hit subscribe right now or spend next week on the outside looking in. Your choice. Choose wrong and you'll regret it. Now back to the story. 3 weeks later, Amara woke to white ceiling tiles and the realization she'd failed at dying. Pain radiated from everywhere and nowhere at once. Her legs felt distant, disconnected, like they belonged to someone else's body. When she tried to move them, they stayed stubbornly still. The fog in her mind was thick, pharmaceutical, wrapping around her thoughts until they moved sluggish as honey. This wasn't a hospital. Too quiet. Too expensive. The ceiling tiles were pristine. The walls a soft cream instead of institutional beige. Private facility money. The kind of money she'd never had. The door opened. A woman in a white coat entered. Mid-40s. Sharp eyes. Competent hands. Dr. Williams. I'm Dr. Sarah Lim. You're awake. Good. Amara's throat felt like gravel. Where? You're in a private medical facility. Your surgeries were unconventional but successful. Multiple procedures. Your spine, both legs, internal repairs. You're very lucky. Lucky. The word tasted like ash. Who paid for this? Dr. Lim's expression remained carefully neutral. Someone who wants to speak with you when you're ready. Panic cut through the fog like a scalpel. My mother, where is she? Your mother is receiving treatment at Mercy General. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, correct? Her care is also covered. The words didn't make sense. Amara's mind scrambled, trying to find purchase. Covered? By who? I couldn't even afford her medications. I had to... The jump. Marcus Chen. $847,000. The voice on the phone, cold and precise. Your mother's life support gets pulled tomorrow unless you find $50,000 by midnight. That's what he wants to discuss, Dr. Lim said gently. He, not the hospital, not insurance, not some miracle. He. The memories crashed back in fragments. Marcus Chen's face, too close, smelling like expensive cologne and cruelty. You're a doctor, smart girl, lots of ways to make money with those pretty hands. My clients pay well for organs. Your mother could work off her debt in my operation. She's dying anyway. The threat to expose her suicide attempt to the medical board, her license, her identity, everything she was, gone. Not that it mattered. She couldn't save anyone, not her patients, not her mother, not herself. Her phone. Where was her phone? Dr. Lim handed it to her, screen already lit with a message from an unknown number. Your debt is transferred. New terms require discussion. You have 48 hours. No, Amara threw the blanket back, tried to swing her legs over the side of the bed. They didn't respond. She pushed harder, demanded compliance from muscles that had forgotten how to obey. Her body toppled sideways. Dr. Lim caught her before she hit the floor, surprisingly strong for her slight frame. "Dr. Williams, you can't—" "Get off me!" Amara tried to stand. Her legs crumpled like wet paper. She went down hard, palms slamming tile, tears burning hot behind her eyes. The rage came then, white and consuming. Not at Dr. Lim or the stranger who'd bought her survival, at herself. "I can't even die right!" The words broke on a sob she refused to release. Dr. Lim crouched beside her, professional distance dissolving. "You're alive. That's not failure." "Yes," Amara said, staring at her useless legs, at the body that had betrayed her twice now. "It is." The man who entered moved like violence contained in expensive tailoring. Amara noticed everything through the pharmaceutical haze, the way he assessed the room before looking at her, the controlled precision of each step, the scar running from his right temple to his jaw like a signature written in old pain. Korean features sharp as broken glass, dark eyes that missed nothing, suit that cost more than her medical school loans. "Dr. Williams." His voice was winter. "I'm Kang Min-jae. I own your debt now." Even broken and helpless, Amara's spine straightened. "I didn't ask to be saved. Your mother did." The words hit like a second fall. "You spoke to my mother?" 2 days ago, I told her about the debt transfer, about Marcus Chen's threats. He pulled a chair close, sat with the controlled ease of a predator at rest. She said, "Whatever he wants, Amara says yes. I didn't raise her to die for pride." Amara's throat closed. That sounded exactly like Grace. Practical, fierce, uncompromising about survival. "Who are you?" "Legitimate business owner. Import, export, real estate development. Very boring on paper." The ghost of something dangerous crossed his features. "I have a reputation for being calculated, connected. People come to me when they need problems solved quietly. You're a criminal. I'm a businessman with flexible ethics." He leaned forward. "Marcus Chen operates in my city. Loan sharking, organ trafficking, extortion. He's a problem I've been meaning to address. You've given me reason to accelerate that timeline. Why do you care what happens to me?" "I don't." The brutal honesty was almost refreshing. "I care about what I can do for you. Here is my offer. Marry me. 2 years. Your mother gets experimental cancer treatment, the kind Marcus Chen's blood money can't buy. Your debt disappears completely. Marcus never touches either of you again." Amara stared at him. "What do you get?" "Legitimacy, stability, a reason for certain business associates to believe I'm settling down, becoming predictable." His expression remained perfectly controlled. "You'd be my cover." "You want me to lie for you?" "I want you alive. The marriage is how we both get what we need." He produced a contract, slid it across the bedside table. "Separate living spaces within my penthouse, no physical obligations, full medical care for you and your mother, exit clause after 2 years, clean divorce, no complications. You walk away free." The word swam before her eyes. Freedom, her mother's life, everything she jumped to escape from, solved with a signature. "Who are you?" Her voice cracked. "Out of everyone you could have—" Min-jae was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, something human flickered behind the ice. "My sister jumped from a bridge 5 years ago. I was too late then." His jaw tightened. I'm not too late now. Amara looked at the contract, at her useless legs, at the man who'd bought her survival like a business transaction. Sign or watch her mother die. Some choice. She signed. If you hurt her, Amara said, hand shaking on the pen, I'll find a way to destroy you. Min Jae's lips curved, not quite a smile, more like the memory of one. I'd expect nothing less, Dr. Williams. He took the contract, stood, moved toward the door with that same controlled violence. It's Amara, she said to his retreating back. He paused. Min Jae. Then he was gone, and Amara was left staring at her wedding contract, wondering what she'd just sold her soul to save. Here's the reality. 80% of you will watch this entire story, feel something real, and then just scroll away, like it never happened, like Amara and Min Jae's pain was just entertainment for your commute. Prove you're not that person. Hit subscribe right now, not later, now. Show me you actually connected with this, or close the video and admit you just consume trauma for fun. What's it gonna be? The penthouse wasn't a home, it was a stronghold. Amara took it all in from her wheelchair, floor to ceiling windows that made her stomach drop. Security cameras in every corner, men in suits with earpieces stationed at exits. Her suite had been transformed into a medical facility, hospital bed, IV stands, rehabilitation equipment arranged with military precision. Everything she needed, nothing she wanted. She kept her eyes away from the windows, 25 floors up, same height as the building she'd jumped from. Grace had been moved to the private wing, a space that looked more like a luxury hotel than a cancer ward. Round-the-clock nurses, experimental immunotherapy protocol already started, every comfort money could buy. When Min Jae came to check on the arrangements, Grace studied him with eyes that had seen through decades of lies. So you're the man who bought my daughter's life. Min Jae shifted, visibly uncomfortable for the first time since Amara had met him. I prefer to think of it as an investment in mutual benefit. Grace's laugh was warm, knowing. You can lie to yourself, honey, but I see you. Something flickered across his face, surprise, maybe fear, before the mask returned. The first week established routines. Min Jae disappeared for business, gone for days at a time. When he returned, there was controlled violence in his eyes, something cold and distant that hadn't been there before. Amara noticed the blood on his cuffs once, just a speck, dark against white fabric. He caught her looking, said nothing, and changed shirts. Dr. Lim came daily. The rehabilitation was brutal, humiliating, progress measured in inches, learning to shift weight, to flex toes that barely responded, to endure the electric fire shooting through nerve pathways that had been crushed and reassembled. Grace's treatment began. The side effects hit hard: nausea, exhaustion, hair falling out in clumps. But there was hope, too. The tumors were shrinking, small victories that tasted like borrowed time. At 2 a.m. on the 7th night, Amara was alone in the therapy room, gripping parallel bars with white-knuckled determination. Her legs shook with the effort of supporting her weight. Sweat dripped down her spine. She took one step, another. Her left leg buckled. She collapsed hard, pain exploding through her hips, frustration tearing out of her throat in a sound somewhere between scream and sob. Why aren't you asking for help? Min Jae stood in the doorway, dressed for sleep, or whatever passed for sleep for men like him. She hadn't heard him approach. Because you don't need my pity. Good. He crossed the room. I don't have any. He helped her up with surprising gentleness, strong hand steady on her arms. Then he pulled out his phone, dialed. Dr. Lim, I need you to teach me Dr. Williams's exercises, all of them, tonight. "You can't," Amara started. "I'm not asking. Teach me." Dr. Lim arrived within the hour, sleep-rumpled and professional. For 30 minutes, Min Jae learned every stretch, every technique, every painful repetition. He took notes like it was a business negotiation, asked questions about pressure points, optimal angles, signs of overexertion. When Dr. Lim left, he turned to Amara. "Sit." The first session was excruciating. His hands, scarred, strong, surprisingly gentle, guided her through stretches that made her want to scream. He counted each repetition in a voice so calm it became something to anchor to. 20, 30, 40. Tears streamed down her face. He didn't comment, didn't offer comfort, just kept counting. When they finished, she was shaking. "Tomorrow, same time," he said. "Why are you doing this?" Min Jae looked at her with those dark, unreadable eyes. "Because you're my responsibility now, and I don't fail my responsibilities." He left her there, and Amara sat in the therapy room staring at her trembling hands, feeling something besides emptiness for the first time in weeks. Rage, maybe, or something dangerously close to gratitude. 2 months passed. Amara learned to walk with a cane. Min Jae learned to ask instead of demand. The routine became something almost comfortable. Morning therapy with Dr. Lim, afternoons with Grace watching old movies and pretending the cancer wasn't winning, evenings with Min Jae counting repetitions in that steady voice that had become familiar as her own heartbeat. Grace noticed everything. "He looks at you like you're something precious he's afraid to break." "He looks at me like an investment." Amara adjusted the IV line, avoiding her mother's knowing eyes. "You keep telling yourself that, baby." But Amara was noticing too. The way Min Jae disappeared after certain phone calls, jaw tight, eyes going distant and cold. The controlled violence when he returned hours or days later, moving like something caged had been briefly unleashed. The scars on his hands, too many, too precisely placed to be accidents. The gun she glimpsed under his jacket when he reached for something on a high shelf. "What exactly do you do when you leave?" she asked one evening, watching him wash blood from his cufflinks at the bar sink. "Nothing you need to know about." "I'm a doctor. I notice injuries, defensive wounds, blood that isn't yours." She moved closer, leaning on her cane. "What are you protecting me from by lying?" His jaw tightened. "I solve problems. By hurting people. By protecting what's mine." The retaliation came in waves. First, an FBI agent at the door asking pointed questions about their marriage timeline, financial records, the convenience of it all. Then Dr. Lim catching contaminated medication in Grace's IV. Someone had replaced her immunotherapy with a solution that would have stopped her heart. Finally, a message delivered to the penthouse, a photograph of Grace sleeping in her bed, crosshairs drawn over her face. "Call off your dog or the old woman pays." Min Jae's response was cold fury made manifest. "Find him. Bring him to the warehouse." Amara overheard, intercepted him at the elevator. "I'm coming." "No, this isn't. She's my mother. If you're gonna do something, I'm going to see it." The warehouse smelled like rust and fear. Marcus Chen's lieutenant hung from chains, face already a ruin of blood and broken bone. Min Jae moved around him with clinical precision, asking questions in a voice devoid of mercy. Each evasion earned another calculated injury. Amara watched, horrified but unable to look away. This was who Min Jae really was, not the man who counted her repetitions, but something carved from necessity and violence. The lieutenant talked. Marcus was planning to kidnap Grace, force Amara to recant the marriage, use her mother's dying body as leverage for everything Min Jae had built. In the car afterwards, silence stretched between them like a chasm. "Is this who you are?" Amara's voice was barely audible. "Yes." Have you killed people? Yes. More silence. The city lights blurred past. These are the hands that hold you during therapy, she said finally, staring at his blood-stained knuckles on the steering wheel. I know. Can you live with that? Min Jae's hands tightened until his knuckles went white. I don't know. Can you? I've been trying to figure that out for 5 years. He looked at her then, really looked, not at an investment or a responsibility, but at a woman who jumped because the weight became unbearable, who was asking herself the same question he'd been running from since his sister died. My sister, Hannah, she was kidnapped, tortured. They sent me pieces of her before they finally let her die by her own hand. I built all of this, he gestured at nothing, everything, so I'd never be powerless again, so I could protect what mattered. By becoming the monster, by becoming strong enough that monsters think twice. Amara reached across the console, placed her hand over his blood-stained knuckles on the steering wheel. I'm a surgeon. I've cut into living flesh to save lives. There's blood on my hands, too. Different reasons, but, well, maybe we're both trying to save people in the only ways we know how. Min Jae's fingers turned, laced through hers. Neither spoke the rest of the way home. If you're not subscribed, you're gambling. Next week, I'm dropping a new story. Subscribers get first access. Non-subscribers, you'll see everyone talking about it and have no idea what happened. Hit subscribe right now or spend next week on the outside looking in. Your choice. Choose wrong and you'll regret it. The FBI agent's badge glinted under fluorescent lights. Agent Sarah Kwan sat across from Amara at the dining table, files spread between them like evidence at trial. Dr. Williams, let's review the timeline. You attempted suicide 3 months ago. While hospitalized, you married Mr. Kang, a man you'd never met, within weeks of regaining consciousness. Kwan's eyes were sharp, assessing. Your husband has separate living quarters. You maintain separate bedrooms. Your mother's expensive cancer treatment began immediately after the marriage. She leaned forward. Dr. Williams, are you being coerced? Amara could end it here. One word and Min Jae's world would collapse. The FBI was clearly building a case. Money laundering, organized crime, a marriage designed to legitimize blood money. She could walk away clean, expose him, reclaim some version of the life she'd tried to end. Grace's voice echoed in her memory. Take care of each other. No, this marriage is my choice. You understand that obstruction of justice. I understand that my husband paid my debts and saved my mother's life. Amara's voice was steel wrapped in silk. What's suspicious about a man helping his wife's family? After Kwan left, Amara found Min Jae on the balcony. She hadn't been out here since moving in, 25 floors up, same height as her jump. But the fear had dulled to something manageable. She joined him at the railing, close enough their shoulders almost touched. You could have ended this, Min Jae said without looking at her. I know. Why didn't you? Amara stared out at the city lights, the same lights that had blurred into streaks as she fell. Because you asked me if I could live with who you are. I'm asking myself the same thing. Who am I? I'm a doctor who watched you torture someone and didn't stop you. I'm a woman whose mother is alive because of blood money. I'm a person who jumps off buildings when things get hard. You're more than your worst moment. So are you. Something shifted in the space between them, not quite understanding, but recognition. Two people standing in the wreckage of who they thought they were, finding something salvageable in the ruins. Min Jae's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his jaw tightening. Marcus is planning something bigger. My sources say he's arranging a kidnapping team. He pocketed the phone. I need to move Grace to a secure location. Where? My family's compound in Seoul, maximum security, best oncology team in Asia. She'd be safe there. That means leaving. Amara's hands tightened on the railing. "You'd come too. 3 months, maybe 4, until the FBI investigation closes and Marcus is handled permanently." He finally looked at her. "I know what I'm asking. You're asking me to run. I'm asking you to let me protect you." His voice carried an edge of something raw, almost vulnerable. "I failed my sister. I won't fail your mother. I won't fail you." Amara thought about Grace in that warehouse photograph, crosshairs drawn over her sleeping face. Thought about Marcus Chen's vindictive patience, his willingness to hurt innocent people to prove a point. Thought about the man beside her who'd learned her physical therapy routine, who counted her repetitions in the dark, who'd become something more than a transaction. "Okay," she met his eyes, "but I'm not running, I'm choosing. There's a difference." Min-jae's hand found hers on the railing, scarred fingers lacing through her surgeon's hands. "What's the difference?" "Choosing is about fear. Choosing is about trust." She squeezed his hand. "I'm choosing to trust you." For the first time since she'd met him, Min-jae smiled, a real smile, small and fleeting, but genuine. "Then we leave tomorrow. Pack light, soul's cold this time of year." Amara nodded, looking out over the city one last time before they ran towards something instead of away from everything. The compound was a fortress disguised as a traditional hanok. Curved tile roofs and wooden beams hid reinforced walls, security cameras disguised as decorative lanterns, armed guards dressed as groundskeepers. Seoul sprawled below, beautiful, isolating, foreign in ways that made Amara feel untethered from everything she'd known. Grace thrived under the new protocol. Color returned to her cheeks. She walked the gardens without assistance. Dr. Park called it remarkable. Amara, trained in oncology realities, recognized it for what it was, a temporary surge before the final decline. Min-jae showed her the family shrine one evening, his father's photograph, stern and unsmiling. "Killed by the Zhang family when I was 19, territorial dispute." His sister's photo, young, bright-eyed, alive. "Hana, 23 when they took her. They wanted ransom. I was building the empire, too busy consolidating power to see the threat." His voice went flat. "By the time I paid, she was already broken. She jumped 3 days after I got her back." "Min-jae." "I was building an empire to protect my family. Instead, I gave them reason to become targets." He touched Hana's photograph. "I won't make that mistake again." The training started the next day. Self-defense in the compound's private gym. Min-jae teaching Amara how to break holds, strike vulnerable points, use her cane as a weapon. "You're never going to be helpless again," he said, adjusting her stance. His hands on her waist, guiding her hips into proper position, her back against his chest as he demonstrated leverage points. Physical intimacy disguised as combat training, both of them pretending not to notice how their breathing synchronized, how his touch lingered. Amara's body remembered strength slowly, muscle memory from years of standing through marathon surgeries, the discipline she'd lost in the jump, returning. Grace watched them train one morning, then announced at dinner, "If you're going to pretend to be married, do it right. I want a real wedding." "We already," Amara started. "A courthouse signature isn't a wedding. I want tradition, beauty." Grace's eyes glittered with determination. "Before I can see it anymore." The ceremony was small, intimate. Min-jae in traditional hanbok, black and silver, elegant and dangerous. Amara in modified jogori that accommodated her injuries, deep blue silk embroidered with cranes. Grace cried through the entire ceremony. The vows felt real. The way Min-jae looked at her felt real. When he kissed her, their first kiss, it stopped being performance and became something neither of them could name. News arrived 2 days later. Marcus Chen arrested on federal charges, Min Jae's machinations finally paying off. But celebration died when a package arrived at the compound, a severed finger wearing a familiar ring, one of Min Jae's lieutenants. The message was clear. The Zhang family sees your marriage as weakness, his head of security reported. They're coming for what you love now. Min Jae's decision was immediate. We're going back. I won't hide. Grace collapsed that night. Dr. Park's prognosis was brutal. The cancer is aggressive, weeks, not months. The treatment bought time, but we're out of miracles. Grace insisted on going home. I want to die in America, where Amara can visit my grave without crossing oceans. On the plane, Grace lay between them, lucid but fading. She took Amara's hand. Stop punishing yourself for living, baby. You jumped because the weight was too much. You survived because you're stronger than you knew. To Min Jae, you're not your father's violence or your sister's death. You're the man who learned physical therapy for a stranger, who gave my daughter reasons to wake up. She held both their hands together. Love isn't a debt. Stop treating it like one. You don't owe each other survival. You owe each other honesty, choice. Her grip weakened. Choose each other, not because of contracts or guilt, because you want to. Amara pressed her face to her mother's shoulder and wept. Min Jae's hand settled on her back, steady and warm, as Grace's breathing slowed and steadied into sleep. Below them, America approached through the clouds. Home, whatever that meant now.
Grace died on a Tuesday. The Zhangs attacked on Wednesday. She went peacefully, at home, holding both their hands. Her final words were whispered, urgent. Choose each other. Not because you owe it, because you choose it. Then her grip loosened, her breathing stopped, and Amara felt something fundamental break inside her chest. The grief came like a tidal wave. Amara collapsed against Min Jae, sobbing so hard she couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel the enormity of losing the one person who'd loved her unconditionally. Min Jae held her as she shattered, his arms the only thing keeping her from disintegrating completely. The funeral was quiet, small, devastating. A handful of Grace's church friends, Dr. Lim, some of Min Jae's people standing a respectful distance away. Amara stood at the graveside in black, hollow and empty, Min Jae beside her like a dark sentinel. His grief was different, controlled, turned inward, dangerous. She recognized that look now, violence waiting for direction. The ambush came as they walked to the car. Black SUVs blocking exits, men with guns emerging like shadows. Civilians screamed, scattering. Min Jae moved before Amara could process, his body covering hers, pushing her behind a headstone as gunfire erupted. She'd known he was violent. She'd seen the aftermath in that warehouse. But this was different. Min Jae moved through the cemetery like death incarnate, precise and brutal. Bodies dropped, blood stained memorial flowers. His gun spoke in controlled rhythm, each shot finding its mark. 4 attackers down before his security team arrived to finish it. Min Jae pulled Amara to the car, checking her for injuries with shaking hands, his shirt spattered with blood that wasn't his. The safe house was austere, anonymous. Amara sat on the edge of a bed, still wearing her funeral dress, while Min Jae cleaned his gun at the table. "How many people have you killed?" Her voice was eerily calm. He looked up. "Do you really want to know?" "Yes." 17. That I've done personally. More that I've ordered. And tonight? 4. She should be horrified. She'd spent her entire life saving people, and she just watched him end 4 lives without hesitation. But all she felt was a strange, terrible gratitude. "Thank you for protecting me." Min-jae stared at her. "That's what you take from this?" "I'm a doctor. I should be disgusted." She stood, crossed to him. "But all I feel is safe." "That makes you as broken as I am." "I know." She touched his face, blood still flecking his jaw. "I jumped off a building, Min-jae. I'm not pretending to be whole." His hand covered hers, pressing it against his cheek. "I put you in danger by caring. The Zangs targeted you because you matter to me." His eyes went cold. "I need to end this, permanently." The war lasted 2 weeks. Min-jae dismantled Zang operations with surgical precision. Supply lines cut, warehouses burned, key players disappeared. Amara insisted on staying involved. "You don't get to protect me by shutting me out." She used her medical skills, treating his injured men, learning the machinery of his world. Gunshot wounds, knife injuries, broken bones from interrogations. She became the unofficial doctor of his organization, saving lives stained with the same blood as the ones Min-jae took. The final confrontation came in an abandoned factory. The Zang boss captured, beaten, tied to a chair. Min-jae's gun pressed to his temple. "You touched what's mine," Min-jae said, voice empty of mercy. Amara's hand settled on his shoulder. "You're not a monster anymore. Don't become one for me." Min-jae's finger trembled on the trigger. Long silence, broken only by Zhang's labored breathing. "Exile," Min-jae said finally. "You leave the country. All operations dissolved. If you or your people ever touch American soil again, I'll find you, and next time, she won't be here to stop me." Zhang nodded, desperate, grateful to be breathing. Outside, Amara asked, "Why exile?" "Because you asked me not to become a monster." Min-jae looked at her. "Because maybe I want to be the man your mother saw, instead of the one my father made." She kissed him then, tasting gunpowder and grief and something like redemption. Real talk, if Amara's story hit you, drop a comment telling me one word, just one word that describes what you felt. Then subscribe. But here's what you need to know. I only make these stories because you keep watching. Every subscriber tells me these stories matter. Every non-subscriber tells me this is just background noise. So prove it. Subscribe now. Because the woman in next week's story, she's in the comments of this video right now, watching to see if anyone cares enough to hear her ending. Don't let her wonder if her story matters. Subscribe, comment, share, now.
6 months after Grace died, the 2-year contract expired. The divorce papers sat on the dining table like an accusation. Amara found them while Min-jae was in his office, each page already signed in his precise handwriting. Her debts cleared. Marcus Chen imprisoned. Zhang family dissolved. FBI investigation closed with no charges filed. Every box checked, every obligation fulfilled. Min-jae emerged from his office, found her holding the papers. His face was carefully blank. "You don't owe me anything anymore." "You signed them." Her voice came out hollow. "Your mother's gone. The threat's gone. The contract's fulfilled." He kept his distance, like proximity might contaminate her choice. "You're free." "You want me to leave?" "I want you to choose, for real this time, not because of debt or danger or guilt." Something raw flickered in his eyes. "What do you want?" Amara stared at the papers in her hands. "What do you want?"
Min-jae was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. When he spoke, his voice carried a vulnerability she'd never heard. "I want you to stay, but not because you have to, because you want to." He moved closer, still maintaining that careful distance. "I watched you jump because you had no choice. Now you have every choice. Don't stay for me, stay for you." The crisis hit like a second fall. Who was she without the debt, without her mother, without the mission to save Grace that had defined every decision since the jump? She'd been Dr. Amara Williams, cardiac surgeon. Then she'd been a broken woman trying to survive. Then a daughter fighting for her mother's life. But now? Grace's words echoed, "Stop punishing yourself for living." The therapy sessions where Min-jae counted her repetitions. The wedding in Seoul that stopped being pretend. Grief shared in the dark when words failed and only presence mattered. Amara walked to the balcony, 25 floors up, same view as the jump. She looked down at the city lights, felt the pull of gravity, recognized it for what it was, not temptation, but memory. Min-jae found her there. "If you're going to leave, just go. Don't—" "I'm not going to jump." "Then what are you doing?" "Trying to figure out what I want, and I want to stop measuring my life in debts and contracts." She held up the divorce papers, then deliberately tore them in half, then again, let the pieces scatter in the wind. "I want to choose you, not because you saved me, because you let me save you back." "You didn't save me." "I'm a doctor who treats your men. I'm the person you ask for advice before making decisions. I'm the reason you chose exile over execution." She stepped closer. "You let me make you less of a monster. That's saving you." Min-jae's careful control finally cracked. "I don't know how to be loved without violence. Every person I've ever cared about, I've either failed to protect or put in danger by caring. My father, Hana, you, the Zhangs came for you because you mattered." His hands clenched at his sides. "I don't know how to do this without turning it into another debt." "Then we'll figure it out together." Amara closed the distance between them, took his scarred hands in her surgeon's fingers. "No contracts, no obligations, no measuring who owes who, just choice. Every day we choose each other." "What if I fail you?" "What if I fail you?" She smiled, sad and genuine. "We're both broken, Min-jae. I jumped off a building. You torture people in warehouses. We're not asking for perfect. We're asking for real." His forehead pressed against hers. "Real. Real," she confirmed. The kiss wasn't performance or transaction or sealing a contract. It was two people who'd survived falling, one off a building, one into darkness, choosing to build something together from the wreckage. His hands cradled her face like she was precious, her fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. When they broke apart, Min-jae whispered against her lips, "No more contracts. No more debts," Amara agreed. "Just us. Just us." The torn divorce papers scattered across the balcony, carried away by wind, and neither of them looked back. 1 year later, Amara's hands held a scalpel again. Not in an operating room, but in a teaching hospital auditorium, demonstrating technique to medical students who watched with reverent attention. She'd returned to medicine differently, consulting, teaching, training the next generation. Her hands still tremored sometimes, nerve damage a permanent reminder, but they were steady enough for this. She'd found new purpose working with Min-jae's underground medical network, slowly legitimizing it into a free clinic for underserved communities. Blood money cleaned and redirected towards saving lives instead of taking them. Min-jae was transforming too,
Still dangerous, still connected, but choosing different paths. Legitimate shipping operations, real estate development, investments that didn't require violence to protect. He asked her opinion before major decisions now. Would this make you proud or ashamed? They visited Grace's grave together every month. Amara would kneel, trace her mother's name on the headstone. I'm teaching surgery again, Mom. Not performing, but teaching. It's enough. Min-jae left flowers, Grace's favorite peonies, and spoke to her like she could hear. I'm trying to be the man you saw. Some days I fail, but I keep trying. The call came during a consultation. Shooting at Min-jae's shipping warehouse, multiple casualties. Amara was closest. She arrived to chaos, blood, screaming, Min-jae's security trying to contain the scene. A young man, maybe 23, bleeding out from a gunshot wound to the chest. Tension pneumothorax, sucking chest wound, minutes from death. Amara knelt beside him, her hands moving on instinct. I need a first aid kit, clean towels, anything sterile. Min-jae appeared at her side. Tell me what you need. She operated in the field with shaking hands that remembered how to be steady when it mattered. Min-jae following her instructions precisely. Pressure here, hold this, clamp that. The young man's breathing stabilized, color returned to his face. Paramedics arrived to transport him. Amara stood, her hands covered in blood, trembling with adrenaline and memory. I didn't think I could do that anymore, she whispered. Min-jae pulled her close. You never stopped being a surgeon. You just learned to heal different wounds. She looked at the bullet she'd extracted, still clutched in her palm. Same caliber used in Min-jae's organization. The unspoken understanding passed between them. He was still who he was, still moving in dangerous circles, still carrying violence in his wake, but trying, choosing differently when he could. That evening, they stood on the penthouse balcony where everything began. Amara at the railing, no longer afraid of the height or the pull of gravity. Min-jae joined her, his hand finding hers. What are you thinking? About the woman who jumped. She thought she was ending something. She was actually beginning it. Do you regret it? The jump? Everything after? I regret the pain. I don't regret where it led me. To you. To this. Min-jae produced a worn journal, Grace's, her final gift to both of them. They'd read it together many times, but the last entry still made Amara's throat tight. Amara, you jumped because you thought you had to carry the world. Let him share the weight. Min-jae, you think you're darkness, but darkness doesn't fight this hard to protect light. Love each other, not perfectly, just persistently. My mother told me once that healing isn't about erasing scars. It's about learning to live beautifully with them, said Amara softly. Min-jae turned to her, traced the scar on her leg from the surgeries, the one on her wrist from the IV lines, the invisible ones carved into her psyche. I have a lot of scars. Good thing I'm a doctor. He smiled, genuine, unguarded, the expression he'd learned from her. Good thing you stayed. Good thing you let me. The kiss tasted like sunrise, like coffee and possibility, and choosing each other one more day. The city woke below them, unaware of the two broken people on the balcony, learning that redemption wasn't a destination, but a practice. That love wasn't the absence of brokenness, it was the presence of someone willing to hold the shattered pieces while you figure out how to breathe through the cracks.